Daredevil Born Again Season 2 just ended last week, so I think now is a great time to let the devil out. Welcome back everyone. This episode's project actually began way before the camera started rolling. You see, there really aren't any 3D models of this specific suit available just to purchase and print, so I had to get very creative to get this done. Here's the model I started with. It's a great model, it's just not the right suit since this is the older Netflix version. But it does make a great starting point. We just gotta add and tweak things to make it work. Now I couldn't get all the differences, but I did get the more important ones. I used this other model to replace his chest armor design, as well as these files here for a more updated cowl on the head sculpt. The rest of the changes I had to design myself, those being the neck piece, the gauntlets, knee pads, and shin guards. So here's the model that we started with before any of my tweaks and additions, and this is what I ended up with. It's not 100% accurate, but it's close enough. I know even side by side it might be hard to see all the differences considering it's all one solid color, but trust me, there's a lot that's been changed. I even removed some pieces like his shoulder armor and gave the suit a whole new texture. Since he's got two head sculpts, I usually like to make a bust to have somewhere to store the other head. With all the 3D modeling out of the way, it's time to print it all out and get to work. Since I'm not very bright, I installed some magnets in his heads like I usually do, but given the angle, these were absolutely useless. What a waste of time and magnets. And since we skipped all the prep work, we might as well skip right through the priming too and get right to our first base coat of black. When I first had this idea, I thought it was going to be really easy since 90% of the statue is just black, but I didn't really take into account how many different shades of black I'd be dealing with here. But we'll get into that in a bit. For now, let's get to work on the faceplates. It's been a while since I've had to paint a head sculpt that wasn't an anime character, so I'll admit I am a bit rusty. Luckily, it's only half of a face this time around, and he's got a beard that can cover up my lack of skin tone painting skills. I started with a darker, more pinkish shade before coming back with lighter shades until I found something I was happy with. Now let's take a break from the head sculpts and work on the base a bit. We start with a base coat of black like everything else, and then we can start dry brushing different shades of red and orange to get the bricks painted. The stone section on top also gets a few coats of gray and brown dry brush on top of the black. Next, we gotta give those pipes a base coat of black, and then we can paint it with some bronze mixed with some different shades of orange to give it a bit of a rusty look. All we gotta do now is give it all a black wash to grime it up a bit and make it feel more lived in, and we can get back to the heads. First, let's clean up the overspray around the cowl, and then we'll get his beard / stubble painted in a dark brown with lighter brown dry brushed on top. Now we gotta paint that mouth on the second head sculpt. First, we'll start with a base coat of white, and then we can start adding the pinkish purple tones. Getting all these tiny details painted with a giant camera between me and the head is not easy, which is why a lot of the more delicate stuff is painted off cam. But here it is all done. We'll be adding some blood later, but for now we can move on. Next, we'll paint some of the pieces with a metallic black. We'll start with the gauntlets. I'll give a metallic black coat to the bust base as well, just to give it some contrast from the satin black of the suit. And the knee pads and shin guards will get the same metallic treatment. Now we gotta add even more shades of black to make the details stand out a bit more. By adding regular black to the shiny or metallic black, we get a shade of even darker metallic black to use on certain pieces to make them pop a bit more. It may be hard to notice on camera, but in person you can tell the difference between the shades a bit better. The boots will get the same treatment, as well as a few shades of brown dry brushed on them to add some dirt and debris. And finally, it's time for the best part, Matt Murdock's glorious double Ds. Before we paint red, however, we need to put a coat of white over the black just to make the red a little bit more visible. At first I tried to freehand it, but quickly realized that was a dumb idea, and I can just make a quick stencil to help make everything go smoother. And while I do this, can someone tell me why it took this long to get his logo on the costume? I mean, he's had like 6 different costumes so far, and only now did they think it would look good? And boy, does it look good. The whole black suit with the red stripes looks really cool to me. As you can see, I'm using my phone as a light box and tracing over the logo with a pencil so I can cut it out and use it as a stencil. This method isn't the cleanest, but that's okay since I'm just using it to make sure the size of the letters stays consistent between both logos. After I've painted everything red, I'll be coming back over it with the black to clean up those lines anyways. And there you have it. We can finish up the rest of the red stripes all over the suit now. At this point I decided it was time to paint his eyes. The lenses should be like a clear red, but since I can't do that, the best I can do is paint them chrome and then give them several layers of transparent red until they have that iconic look. I chose to make the bust look like the later episodes in the season where the battles have stripped away some more paint and lets more of the red show through. The alternate head also has more red showing since I figured it was more fitting for a battle damage look. Now as I was finishing up the paint job, the base felt a bit too plain for me. I decided to make a 3D model of Bullseye's throwing knives, specifically the one with "You're welcome" written on it from episode 1. I made both a version with the writing and one without, and it didn't really take that long, honestly. I put the models up on my Cults page for $1 if anyone wants to print them out for your Marvel Legends or any other Bullseye figures. And the completed Daredevil statue will also be on my Etsy store for anyone interested in buying it. I also printed out some of the posters that we've seen throughout the season just to give the base more stuff. You could also remove them if you want since they're just taped on, but I think they fit the base quite well. The Mayor Fist poster will get some crumpling and weathering added to it, as well as making a slot on the base for the new Bullseye knife to fit. And with that, all that's left is to add a bit of blood to the battle damage head sculpt and do all the necessary gluing, and we can call this one a wrap. And with it all put together, let's take a look at my completed version of the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. What do you guys think? Did I get close enough to his design in Born Again Season 2? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video and what I do over here, I'd really appreciate if you subscribed and liked the video. I know there's a much bigger audience out there that I just haven't reached yet, so if you guys could help me out, I would really appreciate it. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I will be putting the statue up on my Etsy store. It should already be up by the time this video releases, but if not, then it will be very soon. It felt nice to get a break from all the anime stuff I've been doing lately, but don't worry, I still got more JJK stuff on the way soon. And I don't think I'm quite done with Marvel characters either. I think I might have to come back for one last kill. Thank you all for watching. I hope to see you all again very soon.